Hello and welcome to Khan Clinics, our weekly health and lifestyle show powered by American Muslim Today. In each episode, we dwell in the realms of wellness, exploring the latest trends, seek expert advice, and practical tips to help you live a happy, healthier life. Our aim is to bring a broader perspective to our American audience and discuss issues that impact your daily life by interviewing guests and experts from the US and around the world. From nutrition and fitness to mental well being and beyond, we're here to empower you with knowledge and inspiration. So, whether you're looking to boost your energy, revamp your diet, or simply trying to find a balance in your daily life, you're at the right place. Join us as we embark on this journey towards a better, brighter you. I'm your host, Dr. Amir Khan, and together, let's unlock the secret to living life to the fullest. Khan Clinics is going to be talking about another topic today, so hope you all are well home. But before we start, we're going to do a little intro. We have today in our studios Jeremy and CU. On our guest cam, we have our team, which includes Dr. Sophia, Dr. Fatma, then Dr. Hamza, Haider, and Maya and Rida, and our social media team. So before we start anything, I just want to welcome you all. I hope you've been doing well and had a good weekend. We're going to be starting off with Maya today. She's going to be showing something that she's prepared with Rida, and we're going to be going over that first. So let's see what's been happening in the last week or so, anything that's been relevant. So Maya, how you been?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so today we are going to start with a little bit of interesting news. This week, earlier in Oregon, there was a rodeo that had an escaped bull, and it got outside the arena and injured a few people who were hospitalized. So we're just gonna kind of watch what happened.
Please show us.
So let's
So
see.
for those who don't know, this is actually and it's very popular. It's popular in Spain, of course. That's where it all originated. But it also actually happens here in Texas. It's very popular. And oh my God.
Yeah, so you can see it jumps over the fence
Oh yeah.
into the crowd.
So it went out. It jumped outside. It just did a full jump out. Is that right?
Yes, and then here I'll show you another video of it hitting someone on the outside. You can see it.
Right. So
Okay, here we go.
this is
There
like in a stadium, right? Oh, there you go. Oh, we saw that. That's very
Yes,
interesting.
there it goes. And then it throws someone up.
Oh dear. And it
Yeah,
injured
it keeps
people, you
going.
said. So this is
Yes,
not
yes, 5
that
people were hospitalized.
so this is a different festive which we have actually I would say about 10 miles from here. We also have this rodeo, and we have the cowboys going there, and they want to actually mess with the bull. Oh dear, it's going outside.
Yes,
Oh my God. We haven't seen that.
yes.
Oh dear.
So
Oh,
I'm from Mesquite, which is not
Mesquite.
far from here. We're at Mesquite Rodeo.
Uh-huh.
And I'd never heard of any escape bulls, but I was looking at other news,
Hmm.
and it seems to happen a lot up north when they have rodeos.
Oh dear, oh dear. Okay.
But yeah,
So,
I don't know if they were bull riding or if they were bull fighting, they call it. It's kind of like what you were talking about in Spain when they like dance around the bull.
well, right, but then they have this bull run in a alley or on the streets, and people want to sort of like intimidate the bull, and they get whacked.
Hmm.
Basically, they get whacked. A lot of people get whacked, and then they enjoy it. But this is not fun. So you said people got injured, and that's pretty horrible.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Yes, so
Well,
that happened. And then
so what else do you got? That was
next
one of the major events. So what else do you got?
on our docket is Cricket.
Okay. So
Does
I
it go
know
by
men.
another name?
There are a lot of men playing with around the bull. Do you have women playing around with it as well? I know they do the rodeo and they would ride a horse and all that sort of stuff and a bull in
Um,
fact.
yeah, typically there probably by now are some women who ride bulls, but
Right.
typically they do the roping event, which
Yeah.
is when they ride a horse and they rope the goats,
Yeah.
and then or they run around barrels.
So my
So
question is actually to Rida, Fatma, Sophia. Would you guys ever do that? Dance trying to be intimidate in front of the bull.
Never. Never.
No.
No, sir, never.
What if I
No.
say? What if I say? And I know the boys will say yes to this, but what if I say you get $5,000 if you stand in front of the bull for 5 seconds?
So your life is, I think, more important.
Okay, well, let's say you're gonna get saved. Someone will save you. Fatma, Rida, what about
Then I
you?
will think, sir, if
Ah,
I will be having a $5,000,
then you will think, okay, good girl. Then you'll say,
I will think,
yeah, I'm gonna try to. What about Rida? Rida will do it
yeah.
for less a
And
little.
there
Rida,
should be a security of a life save as well. Then
what
So
about
I'll
if
be
they
getting the
say,
princess treatment and I'll be getting the money. Obviously, I'll stand in front of the bull.
oh, good girl. All right, daring. What
yeah,
about if we say
that's
only
why they
one
have
rib?
rodeo clowns.
Say again?
That's why they have the rodeo clowns, the guys who like if you do end up getting hurt by the bull, if it tries to like push you, they'll have people come out and like distract the bull.
That's right. You gotta have someone doing that. But what if I say the max you will have is one rib broken and a lung puncture because you got hit.
hmm
But other than that,
hmm
we reassure you nothing max than that. You won't die, but you could be in the hospital for let's say a couple of weeks or a week max. Would you do it for would you do it for some money? Let's say Jeremy's thinking about it now. He's already happy. I can see a smile on his face. I know Abdullah will definitely jump into it, right? Abdullah, you will go for even less probably, right? No, Hamza, Hamza Bhai, what about Haider? Would you do it?
Do it.
Yeah.
The injury is not worth it, sir.
Okay, so you think the hospital
Sir,
bill has to be covered? What if the
sir,
hospital
get
bill
me
is
to
covered?
Spain and I'll do it.
You'll do it. What if the hospital
Yeah.
bill is covered and we say, and you get to a couple of weeks off from AMT as well, and it's a paid vacation? Would you take a
Yes,
chance
a
on it?
resounding yes.
Okay, then it makes it worthwhile. I see people saying I will do it for 10,000, and I will do it for this many dollars or this much. So everyone's got a little bit of rate. All right, as long as they know they're alive, they will give. They will. Only one person has said I won't do it so far. Okay, you will definitely do it. Okay. All right. Well, most of them saying they would do it. So there are very few. Maya, you're the what you got next? They're daring people here, so they like it. And they're willing to take a chance. And that's a good
Oh
thing.
yeah. Next, we have cricket.
Okay. All right.
Since
So
our
I know it's
USA
coming.
team has played.
It's coming
Yes,
from an
yes.
American today. I know you're very happy, Maya, because you're gone into the
Yay.
Super 8 today. So show us what you got on cricket. Jeremy doesn't know, right?
Well,
The cricket.
actually,
Uh-huh.
no, Jeremy doesn't actually. We were talking about it earlier, and I said all I know is that it's kind of like baseball, and then I had to explain baseball to him.
Okay, so it's a little bit different, right?
Yes, that's all I know. But actually, I'm gonna let Rita take over.
Sure. Rida, come and show us what's going on with the cricket front.
Well, I'm not that well versed in cricket, but from what I've seen, USA is playing a very, very good game in the T20 World Cup at the moment. I mean, already, even though it's sort of a default, sorry, Dr. Khan, but sort of a default, they have qualified for the next round since the match with Ireland, which was recently, it got cancelled because of weather conditions. And there are heavy predictions that USA is going to qualify for the World Cup in 2027.
Uh-huh.
That's up in the air. There is Swedick.
So USA actually, I think, has already qualified into the Super 8,
Catch
right?
that is.
Yeah. I think generally, well, obviously, I'm going to say I love USA, the game being promoted here in the USA, and I love they're in the next stage. But what hurts is the other match. The second match actually hurts more than anything. And that I actually would say I don't care the rest if they win or don't win the rest of the tournament, but they should not have lost that match. And you guys are not in a group, but I am in a oh boy in this group. And my friend, one of the he's from Pakistan, obviously. And halftime he was yelling at them. He was so celebrating and telling them you don't know how to play cricket and IPL pitches. You think you can beat anyone? And up to 10 overs he was good, and in the last 10 overs the poor guy had to run away. There were too many people against him, so by the end he was like, what has happened here? So last 10 overs he was pretty devastated. So no, it's actually for those who are watching, it's a very good obviously it's a very exciting game. You want to take your kids, you want to have fun. Here I don't know what's back home, but here in the restaurants all are packed. And even the India Pakistan game, the we go to a local restaurant. Here's Barbecue King, and there was halwa puri. There was all the desi nashtas and stuff, you name it, and it was a festive thing. So the only problem was by 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you had to run away because there were too many other people there, and they started to lose. So that makes it pretty horrible. But other than that, that was good. Excellent stuff. Rida, thank you
So
very
that's the
much.
thing in Pakistan too.
Say again.
Because whenever there's a Pakistan India match, it's like a holiday in the entire country. It's the closest we get to perfect unity.
Oh, is that right? That's nice. But yeah. So you've lost the all. I think they're in the next stage. Everyone plays at least 4 more games, and you've lost. But we're gonna enjoy see USA, see what they do in the next round. At least support them. And because I was born in England, I have to support England as well a little bit. So we're gonna see what happens there. Two interesting games. But Rida and Maya, thank you very much for showing this. It's very nice. We're gonna move on to our topic for today. Our today's topic covers a presentation that is going to be done on the topic of COVID. We have Dr. Shiza with us today, and she's going to be talking about that. Dr. Shiza is a physician, MBBS qualified. She is currently resides in Pakistan, and as everyone has done experience COVID-19, she has also experienced COVID-19. So, Shiza Khan, welcome to Khan Clinics and doing this preparation and presentation today.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Let's have a quick run. Have this first video that Jeremy and his team wants to present first, and then we're gonna get to your presentation and talk about it.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the expert body on coronavirus, has released guidance for general public and healthcare professionals on the symptoms of the virus. A person could be at risk if they have any or all of the following: fever and symptoms of lower respiratory illness, such as coughing or difficulty breathing, after traveling to Wuhan or having close contact with someone who is ill and is now under investigation for the virus in the past 2 weeks. Fever or symptoms of lower respiratory illness after having close contact in the past 2 weeks with someone who's been confirmed to have the virus. The CDC defined close contact as being within about 6 feet, 1.8 meters, or within the room or care area of a person with the coronavirus for a prolonged period without appropriate protective clothing, or having direct contact with the infectious secretions of a person with the virus without protective clothing. Coronaviruses are particularly dangerous for people who have weaker immune systems, like young children and older adults. To protect yourself from the virus, try to avoid contact with people who display symptoms similar to those of pneumonia or the common cold, like coughing or a runny nose. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water and scrub for at least 20 seconds. Use alcohol-based hand sanitizer when possible. Avoid animals and animal markets. The only current treatment for coronavirus being offered is supportive in nature. If you notice any of these symptoms and conditions, please contact your nearest professional healthcare setup. Help spread this information to everyone.
Excellent. That was very good. And I think that's very relevant, even though it's very surprising. We see this video and it seems like, oh, that's ages ago. But I'm sure all of you have experienced COVID-19 one way or the other, whether you've got COVID-19, you've been scared. So let's have Shiza start and then we'll discuss a few things.
Okay. As for introduction, coronavirus disease is an infectious disease which is caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people infected with this virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and can recover without requiring any special treatment, while severe symptoms can occur in older people with underlying conditions like cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, hypertension, or immunocompromised patients. Mild symptoms can be treated by over-the-counter medication or taking rest or prophylactically, and then the severe symptoms might require oxygen or mechanical ventilation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For the history of coronavirus, scientists first identified a human coronavirus in 1965 that caused a common cold. There have been different outbreaks of coronavirus having different strains. One that caused SARS, which means severe acute respiratory syndrome, that emerged in southern China in 2003 and quickly spread to 28 countries, and more than 8,000 people were infected by July 2003, and 774 died.
Wow.
And then there was another form of COVID, which called MERS, MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome COVID, that caused an outbreak in Saudi Arabia in 2012, which was confined in Middle East region. And then the virus, the COVID-19, that is also called SARS-CoV-2, and then it caused disease by SARS-CoV-2 virus was originally called COVID-19. It first appeared in a small scale in November 2019, and then a large cluster appearing in Wuhan, China in December 2019.
Very nice. That's a very good introduction, because COVID, even though the virus came in 2019, there had been other viruses in other part of the world. It's just that it had never touched U.S. shores, and we were always very confident that it was not going to come here. So when it started coming from, obviously it originated somewhere in China, and it started coming here, we never thought it will make it to the U.S. shores. And I think we were a lot of times very overconfident, but it did make it, and it came with a lot of devastating effect. So that's really brilliant. So you could see that from her presentation, Shiza's, is that there were signs of outbreaks of a virus in different part of the world.
And for the transmission, it basically transmits as from person to person transmission. For example, like when an infected person release droplets while coughing, talking, sneezing, or breathing, these infected droplets can be inhaled by uninfected person, and these infected droplets can also contaminate surfaces. And when the uninfected person comes in contact with those surfaces, can be infected. It can infect the surfaces, contaminate the surfaces, and when the uninfected person inhales that air or uh, can touch the contaminated surface, can be infected. There are various signs and symptoms. So in some people, it can be a person might be affected, but there are no signs and symptoms. That person is asymptomatic. That person is basically asymptomatic, but it has COVID. So, and there can be cough, shortness of breath, difficulty in breathing, fever, chills, muscle ache or body ache, vomiting, diarrhea, loss of sense of smell or taste, rashes on hand. COVID-19 can be prevented by wearing a face mask, avoiding touching unnecessary to the nose, eyes, mouth, washing hands frequently, staying at home, maintaining safe distance at least of 2 meters, and avoid traveling to the high-risk areas.
I guess the bottom line is these preventions are for any virus attack, any virus, and especially which are spread with droplets and stuff. Washing your hands, wearing a mask, keeping a distance, making sure contact is minimum, don't go out, all of this. It's for any virus attack, in fact. So you protect yourself, you protect your kids. Where we've been lucky with COVID-19 is that the kids were immune. Imagine if the kids were not immune. Of course, the vulnerable immunocompromised kids were still affected, but a vast majority of them weren't. So, in the midst of all of this disaster, we gotta say thanks to the powers of force that the kids were spared. But go on, Riddle,
Yeah.
tell us what's your experience been.
Well, sir, for me, I did get COVID. The worst that I felt was 3 days of extreme fever. You could like cook an egg on my head. That was how much I was burning up.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it was just 2 months of continuous loss of taste, and that just killed my appetite entirely.
Mm.
But I think watching my father go through it was also bad, and we lost a neighbor, and she was a very, very nice lady. So yeah, but other than that, I just stayed indoors. I didn't get to see the devastation in full.
So your worst experience was that your neighbors or some of the your dad having a problem with it. You didn't like that, right? I agree. What about Fatma? What's your experience was, Dr. Fatima?
So basically, I got COVID during my house job in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and on that time, like the COVID was on peak, and I was very scared of that. But luckily, I was asymptomatic. Like seriously, I did not have any sort of symptom of the
Mm-hmm.
COVID,
And, and
not
what's
even a fever.
your worst
So it
experience of it? Like,
So basically, I had a 3 weeks rotation in COVID ICU, and at that time, like all the hospital were overburdenized, and it was very, very bad experience.
mm,
Like almost 10 to 20 dead bodies every day, and the worst thing, like the relatives were like, unable to see and take away the dead bodies at home, and it was very, emotional sort of moment as well.
yeah. Did you at that time think that COVID was ever gonna end?
No,
I agree. That's, I agree.
no,
Sophia, what about what's your
I thought
worst
it will be forever.
It will be forever, right? It was that's what was the uncertainty until the vaccine came out was a very
Yes,
and you got to
yes.
give credit to one man in particular who really pushed all of the vaccine companies to put them in a room and tell them make something, and he made it happen. So you got to give that president credit because
Yes.
from that president, even though you could say, oh, the Germans made it or someone else made it, but he pushed and funded it, and that project was under him. So, okay, what about you, Sophia? Tell us what's your experience been.
So
What's your
I
worst
wasn't
experience?
very lucky. I had a very bad experience. I had severe shortness of breath. I had low grade fever, but I couldn't walk like 2, 3 steps without getting short of breath. So
Hmm.
it was very bad.
If anyone had respiratory symptoms and they even had mild to the minimalist of asthma, so say for example, or minimum lung issues, they were the ones that were affected the most. Even if you were secondhand smokers and doing, people like this hookah is very fashionable right now, and all I see these teenagers damaging their lungs. Believe you me, when the lungs are put under test, they are the ones who are going to get affected the most. So never think that that's a normal thing for your lungs. Your lungs need to be in optimum condition. So, so yeah, sorry about your experience and stuff, but thank God you were right. So did you get the vaccine when it came out? Did you
Yes.
you got
I
the
Yes.
was actually one of the first people in my relatives and my family to get it because I have seen what it could do. So I was like, I had to get it first.
gotcha. Hamza bhai, what about yours? How was yours experience?
I think, sir, for me, the worst experience was because COVID was at its peak while I was doing my house job as well. And I was in a not so developed area. My hospital, the hospital I was working in, was not in a not so developed area. So as a trainee student, ending up in an ICU filled with patients who were facing all kind of complications, respiratory failures, thromboembolic events, and what all the more symptoms, and seeing people die, that was quite a challenge to see it as a training student.
Mm,
And seeing doctors getting overwhelmed in a single ward, 5 or 6 doctors working at like 17, 18 patients at a single time, intubations and whatnot. Those were horrific scenes.
and areas where ICU is not developed or they don't have the capabilities, or one of the other issues I can't believe or would have happened was you run out of ventilators. That is very
Yeah.
horrific as well. Very, very horrific. And, bless those medical personnel who put their lives in danger to support all of us. You definitely got to salute them. So kudos to you guys. And I hear And I'm seeing some of them, like Akif and stuff, volunteered as pharmacists and in whatever capacity to go out and say, "Hey, we're going to help." Kudos to those as well. They really have got to salute everyone there. Uh, just think the economic effect of it is also very mind-boggling and very scary. So I totally agree. Um, I hope this sort of thing never happens again. Um, it's pretty horrific. Jeremy's gonna play the next video, and so we can see what do we need to do to prevent this sort of thing, and then we'll talk about come back to Dr. Shiza's presentation and talk about the rest of the stuff.
All COVID-19 vaccines being developed aim to produce immunity to the SARS-CoV-2 virus by stimulating an immune response to an antigen, usually the characteristic spike protein found on the surface of the virus. Some traditional vaccines achieve this by modifying the virus to weaken or disable it, so that when introduced to the body, an immune response can be generated to the antigen, without the virus causing disease. When the immune system comes into contact with the weakened virus, its defences, such as antibodies and T cells, attack the virus or infected cells. In the process, specialised memory cells take note of the specific antigen and prime the immune system to produce cells and antibodies that will quickly target these proteins. So the next time that person is exposed to the same virus, the immune system is ready to fight it off. Instead of using the whole virus, another way to trigger immunity involves using just fragments of it, like the spike proteins. These subunit vaccines have the advantage of being relatively easy and cheap to produce, and are incapable of causing disease because these fragments are not able to infect host cells. However, they are less likely to be recognised by immune cells aimed at attacking infected cells, which means they may trigger a weaker immune response. Because of this, subunit vaccines often include chemical agents called adjuvants, which are designed to stimulate a stronger immune response, and booster shots may also be required. Not all vaccines are designed to introduce antigens to the body. Some work by using cells in a patient's body to produce the antigens themselves. Examples include viral vector vaccines and mRNA vaccines. In both cases, the goal is to get a short fragment of genetic code taken from the target pathogen, in this case the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19, into the patient's cells. By hijacking the cellular mechanisms, these kinds of vaccines mimic the way viruses normally reproduce during natural infection. But rather than creating copies of the virus, the cells only produce large amounts of antigen that then usually trigger a strong immune response. Viral vector vaccines achieve this by inserting the genetic code for the antigen into a harmless virus, which effectively acts like a delivery system to get the code into the cells without causing disease. Vector-based vaccines can be complex to develop, but they can trigger strong immune responses without the need for adjuvants. And in theory, one type of vector can be used to deliver code for a range of different antigens, which can speed up vaccine development. Nucleic acid vaccines, like mRNA and DNA vaccines, also involve inserting genetic code into cells to produce antigens. But instead of using viruses to deliver the code, these vaccines take a more direct approach that involves inserting the code directly into cells, either by attaching it to a molecule or by forcing it into cells using a gene gun. These vaccines can be quick and cheap to develop, but they are a relatively new technology. With hundreds of COVID-19 vaccines now in development, it's likely that a mixture of different approaches will be needed in order to stop the global spread of this coronavirus and end the pandemic.
That was an excellent presentation. Okay, too. Gives you an overview of what sort of vaccines are available out there. But let's hear from Dr. Shiza as well. Shiza, give us an idea further about testing and stuff.
Okay, for testing, we have PCR, polymerase chain reaction of RNA, which is we take swabs through nasal and oropharyngeal cavities, and it can also be tested through a blood test. But it can only show that the patient had been contacted with COVID, like after the COVID. The IgM and IgG must be raised. So PCR is a 60 to 80% sensitive test, and if we have one PCR negative, it does not mean that we can exclude COVID. We need to do at least two PCR tests to confirm if the patient has COVID or not. For the treatment, we have dexamethasone, antiviral medication, which basically disrupts the ability of virus to replicate and spread within the body. And it is recommended for patients who have been hospitalized and who require oxygen. Then we have dexamethasone, which is a corticosteroid, and it can be used for the patient who need oxygen on patient who are on mechanical ventilation. As a prevention, we also have vaccines, which are Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Sputnik, and Moderna vaccine.
Okay, very good. Moderna was one of the first one that came out in the market, and then the other ones followed. Johnson came out, but it had some side effects. Moderna ones remain still one of the gold standard vaccine, very effective. And then we now have the newer ones that you just need a new one dose vaccine. And then some of the people who are vulnerable, who need it on a regular basis and are immunocompromised, would need a vaccine.
So, world post COVID.
Okay. So do you think there
Okay.
is an impact of COVID? And that's what we want to just see where we are post COVID now. How is the world changed a little bit post COVID? So I'm sure, again, a lot of people have a say about this, but let's first hear Shiza and then we can ask few of our audience people. How is the world after COVID?
Lockdown during the pandemic have changed the outlook of the world. The world has taken a next step into technological transformation, with work from home being a norm and online shopping getting a boost. Digital transformation of the world has started post COVID.
Very
It
interesting.
has shaped every sector of world, including transport, healthcare, industries, etc. It has given us an idea to deal with such pandemic. It has brought the world together in fighting such pandemic and global issues such as climate change as well.
Hmm.
Due to pandemic, the world health care sector have been revolutionized, with countries working together to develop a cure and preventive measures for different diseases, as can be seen in the production and distribution of vaccines.
So, as far as I see, you're saying that these changes post COVID, Shiza, have been all very positive. So, very good. Shiza, is there any other comments you've got, ma'am?
And that's it, sir.
Okay, oh, you got that, the post COVID risks, economical, political. Is that you got another
Yes, sir.
slide for us?
Yes, sir. That's the last slide.
Okay, that's the last slide. Well, thank you very much
Okay.
for coming on board, presenting this really, really good topic that you've discussed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I see that signal coming in. Do that, please. That's very important, and share it as well. Don't you all forget that. Lastly, I want to say thank you for the social media team. A lot of people who have been working behind the scenes and getting this ready and sort of get this presentation up and running. We want to thank them, and don't want to forget them. Like I said, if there's any questions, just let me know, and we'll see you in a week's time.